So in this video, I'm just going to show you how to install Nextcloud, the Truecharts version, and then I'm also going to show you how to back it up and then restore it. Only the files. I'm not going to show you how to back up your entire configuration or anything like that. I'm just going to show you how to get your files back and stuff like that. Whether you have the dataset or you have the PVC. We're going to go through all that because if you're familiar with Truenas Scale and the Truecharts version of Nextcloud, you pretty much have to rebuild Nextcloud like every month. It seems like, because they keep pushing out major updates that I don't know if they even make a difference, but either way, I'll show you how to install that first. So the very first thing that we want to do, this is going to be an optional step, is to create your dataset. I'll go ahead and do that just to show you guys the extra steps. I'll go ahead and just name it Cloud, and then I'm not going to add anything else. No encryption, nothing like that. And the way that I did that, by the way, was I just clicked up on my my pool name, which is Tank, and then clicked on Add Dataset. But we're not done yet. We need to go to View Permissions, and then click on the pencil, and then change this to www data. Copy that, paste that there. Apply user for both of these. Make sure all the boxes that are ticked on my screen are ticked on yours as well. And then we'll go ahead and apply recursively, even though it's a brand new file. I just do that out of habit. And then as long as you got everything like that figured out, and by the way, make sure it is this user. You cannot use your own user. As far as I'm aware, you cannot use your own user. So don't comment that it's not working if you're not actually following the steps. Alrighty. And then after you get done with that and you change the permissions and stuff like that, you have your data set created. We'll go ahead and go to Applications. And then, as I mentioned, we will be using the Truecharts version of Nextcloud. Because even though it's unstable, and just you have to rebuild it pretty much every month, it's still pretty good. Because it allows for like ingress and stuff like that. It has the HPB container so you can send OCC commands. Like, it just has a lot of pros over the official. Other than its wild instability. We'll go ahead and install that. So make sure that it doesn't say official. Make sure that you click on install on the Truecharts version. Okay, and then just to verify that we're using a valid name, I always copy and paste the name that's up here into the application name field. Then I'm just going to use something very simple for the username and password. And then we shouldn't have to change anything else. You can glance over this, but you should not have to change any of this other stuff. You might have to change this if you changed your Kubernetes IP space. But I didn't. My system is default. You might also have to change your access IP. If it's not already pre-filled in, it probably should be pre-filled in, but if it's not, go ahead and put it in yourself. And then other than that, you don't have to touch anything. If I'm not covering something, it's because you don't need to touch it. Okay, and then we'll skip past everything until you get to number 5, which is storage and persistence. And then we'll come down to user data storage. And we'll change this. You only have to change this if you created the data set like I did. If you only have one pool and you didn't create the data set because you just don't need to, then you don't have to. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we're just going to choose the pool that we created, which was Mount, Tank, and then Cloud. Again though, this step is optional. You can use it. You can still use PVC Simple, and I'll show you how to do it both ways. How to restore from both ways. So don't worry about that whatsoever. But we'll go ahead and do that. And then, by the way, PVC versus host path is just, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes switching from PVC could break rollbacks and stuff like that. But again, it's up to you. If you only have one pool, then I would probably just keep PVC on. But it's up to you. And then this is one of the most important steps as well. On your very first time installing Nextcloud, you need to set up ingress with it. And I'll show you what that looks like. just looks like this, but you already have to have like your certificates and stuff like that on here. So if you haven't done that yet, I'd make sure that you go and do that. And then it won't be either of these certificates. It'll be whatever certificate that you created earlier. But since I don't have any of that, I'm not going to do anything like that. But just for the sake of this video, I'll go ahead and do that. And then, oh, this looks good. That looks good. And then, well, actually, I need to disable ingress. Yeah, I'm going to disable all that because I'm not actually going to be using it right now. But that's how you would set up ingress. You have to do it on its very first deployment. If you don't, it's just never going to work. Okay, now it looks like Nextcloud is finally active, so we'll go ahead and open this up. And then we'll sign in with the credentials that were created earlier. Get out of this, exit out of this, go to our files, and then just go ahead and delete all that because we don't need it. We're going to be making our own files. Okay, so now that we have all of our files and stuff like that in here, we've had this installation for a few months or whatever it is, and everything's working fantastic. Well, all of a sudden, a Truecharts update comes out, and then bam, your installation no longer works. So, what we're going to do is we're first going to just stop the container, and then come to System Settings, Services, and make sure that you have SSH enabled. Specifically, you need to have login as root with password enabled, which I know a lot of security guys out there are probably freaking out right now. I know it sucks, but even like using your user with the sudo and stuff like that doesn't work. You have to use root, which but you can disable it after you get done with this. So after you get done with this video or whatever, you can go ahead and just disable it. But right now, just make sure that that's active. Make sure our container is stopped. And then I'm going to cut this up into two parts. The very first part, I'm going to walk you through the entire thing, and it's going to be how to deal with the dataset way. So if you use the dataset, you can watch this next timestamp. I'll have timestamps that says dataset or without dataset. Okay, so just use the timestamps, and then just follow the guide from there, and then skip the next part if it doesn't have anything to do with you. Okay, so we can either use SSH. I guess you didn't need to use SSH, or you could use the shell. It's just I don't use the shell because look at that, and it doesn't have like copy and pasting and stuff like that. But you can use the shell. You cannot use Firefox-based browsers. You have to use a Chromium-based browser, so like Brave or just Chrome or whatever. And then this won't show up like this. And then you can use this and follow all the same exact steps that I'll be doing. But I'll be using SSH. As you can see here, this is how you log in with SSH. You just say SSH and then a space and then the user, which is root, and then and then followed by the IP address. And then I also think that you can specify the port. I can't remember if you have to do it like that, but since we're just using the default port and we didn't change anything, we don't have to specify the port. So we'll go and just do this. Log into our root user again. If you're using the web GUI like I showed you here, you'll be at literally the same exact spot. This is the same message that I'm getting right here. What we need to do, since this is the dataset portion, is we need to change directory into mount, tank, and then go to our dataset. And then type in, let me see, so ls, and then you'll see our username is right here. I used the username of admin. You just need to change directory into whatever you used. Use cd with the / and then well, just admin. You don't need the / before. And then we need to go into files. So we'll go ahead and do this, ls, and then you see all of our files are right here. The next command that we're going to be using is either mv capital R, I believe, and then you can move this into a different directory. But I'm going to use rsync just because I don't have that many files. I'm going to use progress. So you can use different moving commands. Whatever the hell you want to use, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just do this, tank, and then I'll just go ahead and create a folder called backup. So basically what this is saying is we want to rsync, which is just syncing the two folders together, with archive mode turned on, which means that it should just be preserving everything, including the permissions and stuff like that. So, and then we'll use tac progress. That's just doing what it says it does. It should show the progress. And then the asterisk just means that in our current directory, which is mount tank cloud admin files, any file that's in here. Okay, so that's all of these files. That's what the asterisk means. It just basically means literally any file. And then this is our destination. So we'll just go ahead and do this. We just want to, and then this file doesn't exist, or this folder doesn't exist yet. I'm going to be creating it with this command. So we'll just go ahead and press enter. And then you'll see it already went to 100% because it was not a ton going on. So we'll go ahead and change directory into mount tank, hold on. There we go, and then just verify that all the files and stuff like that are there. So once you're happy with that, and you verified that all the files are there, all you have to do is come back here, delete the application because you already have a backup of all the files inside. Okay, you may need to come here, go to edit, and then remember what you put for your username and password and all these other fields. So you might want to take screenshots. It's up to you, but I don't need to do that because I can remember the username and password that I used. But if you don't, go ahead and take some screenshots. And then we also need to come here and we also need to delete this data set. So we're going to go ahead and delete cloud. Then that's deleted. And then we're going to recreate it. Yeah, that's all you have to do for that. And then we'll come back to apps, and then we'll just reinstall the application. Once we get back to storage and persistence, again, just under user database or user data storage, we'll come here and then we'll select that same exact data set that we created earlier, but then had to delete, and then that that's in there, then just click next, and then go next through all this stuff. Again, since this is the first time that you're setting up Nextcloud again, make sure if you plan on ever using Ingress to enable it now, because you'll have to go through these steps again. You can't go back and re-enable it later. I wish you could, but that's just not possible as of right now. Okay, now that Nextcloud is active, go ahead and log in. Escape out of that. Go to Files. Delete everything yet again. It's a little bit repetitive, I know, but you know. Alright, and then finally you have two options again. You can either go to the shell or you can SSH. It's up to you. But since we're already in backup here, okay, so all I'm going to do is rsync this directory because I'm now in mount tank backup. This is where our backup folders are. Folders and files and all this stuff, right? And now we want to run the same command that we ran earlier, except obviously we don't want to send it to backup, because we already are in backup. We're going to send it to cloud, and then again our username, and then you can press tab, by the way, to like autocomplete. That's how I'm doing that, is I'm pressing tab, and then you should be able to just type in FI for files, press tab, put the trailing on there, and then press enter. Okay, so we'll go ahead and change directory. Verify that those are in there. Okay, they are. And now we only have to do one more thing for this. Mount tank scripts, heavyscript. So if you haven't already, you should download heavyscript. It's Easily the best script that you can get for managing your applications and stuff like that. And again, you have two options here. You can either come to your Nextcloud instance and click on the shell, and then make sure you're on Nextcloud. Make sure it's not Redis or Postgres or cron job. Make sure it's just Nextcloud and then a bunch of crap. And then make sure it defaults to the HPB container. This is another reason why Truecharts actually did make a good container. I just wish they would stop breaking it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Is because they have the HPB container in there, which allows for you to run the OCC commands, which is what we're going to use here in just a second. So you can either do that, click on choose, and then it will open up a nice terminal for you. But again, since I'm using Firefox and I just don't want to get on Chrome right now, I'm going to use heavyscript. So I'm just going to run bash heavyscript when I'm in my heavyscript directory, and then press enter, and then you'll see a command to container. So we'll type in number 9, and then you'll see Nextcloud number 5, and then you'll see the HPB number 3, and then you can either run a single command or open up the shell. I'm going to open a shell. Now all we have to do is copy this command, and I'll go ahead and leave this in the video description as well. So php occ files :scan tac all. What this is going to do is it's going to scan the database for any files that aren't already in the Nextcloud database. So since we manually added our own files, they're not going to show up. And I'll actually show you that in case you don't believe me. Look at that, refreshed, and there's nothing there. It says, hey, you don't have any files anywhere. What's going on? No files in here, okay? But once we run this command, boom, all of our files and folders and stuff like that got scanned in. It's going to take a lot longer, by the way, if you have more crap going on, if you have more files and stuff. And then after you get done with that, you can just go ahead and type in exit, and then you'll exit out of this shell, because you'll see we were in www data, Nextcloud, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now if we refresh, there's all of our files. And that's all you have to do. But yeah, that's it for restoring your stuff. I'm going to go ahead and get into section 2 for the people that are using PVC, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so this is going to be method number 2. If you just use PVC and you did not use a dataset, this is going to be your section. So again, as a scenario that I gave for the first group, so imagine Truecharts pushed yet another breaking change where you had to rebuild your application yet again for no reason. So the way that we're going to handle that is we're going to, so you have two options here. The preferred way is probably to come to services and enable SSH. And you especially have to do this if you only have a Firefox based browser. Or you can come here and you can click on the shell and you can deal with this. Obviously, if you click on the shell and you are not using a Firefox based browser, it won't show up jumbled like this. But since I am using a Firefox based browser, it is going to show up jumbled like this. Okay, so I rather use SSH, which again, let me see. Yeah, just make sure it says that it's running, and then make sure that you have login as root with password. Make sure that that is active as well, which I know you're not supposed to do SSH with root and stuff like that. For this video, we are going to have to do that. You can disable it right after the video. Just make sure that you remember to do that. And yeah. Okay, so you can use the shell if you want to again. I'm going to just use SSH like I did. And I'll show you just like I did the first group. It's SSH, the command. And by the way, you can use something like PuTTY, P-U-T-T-Y. You can get PuTTY for like Windows. You can get it for Linux. I'm pretty sure you can even get it for Mac. And that's what a lot of people prefer. I don't really like it that much, but if you want to, you can. And then, so you just do SSH, which is the command, and then the user, which is root, and then @ followed by your server's IP address, okay? Or you could just use the shell that's built into the GUI. It does not matter. But since you use PVC, well, now we have to mount that storage because it's not visible from our file system, because it's not on a dataset, it's not a host path, it's not anywhere that's visible to us. So we have to mount it first. Mount, let me see, tank, and then I created a scripts directory. You can go ahead and do that as well. Just create a scripts dataset. That's all that I did here. And then it just has my bash heavy script. You probably can use... So you probably can use TrueTool, but TrueTool's literally just a copy and paste of heavyscript, so I don't know why you would want to use TrueTool. It's a copy and paste of heavyscript with a really bad implementation of asynchronous updates, and I guess I think they broke mounting too. I don't know how you mess that up if you just copy and paste my code. But anyway, we'll just go ahead and change directory into, oh, we already are. Make sure that you're in heavyscript, and then if you need to download it, I'll go ahead and leave a thing in the description. They'll just show you how to install. It just says git clone heavyscript, so literally all you have to do is just copy and paste this, and then into your scripts directory, and then change directory into your heavyscript, and then just run this command. So you basically just run bash heavyscript.sh. And then we're going to be using this to mount and unmount our PVC storage. So the first thing that we need to do is mount it. So go ahead and mount. And then we need to find Nextcloud data. So that's number 7 for me. So I'll type in number 7, press enter. And then it's going to go ahead and scale down Nextcloud for you and wait for it to be scaled down before actually mounting it. Okay, so it said mounting, and then so this is the volume name. As you can see here, here is the PVC volume, persistent volume claim. It's just a Kubernetes volume, I guess. And then this is where it mounted it to. So go ahead and do that. And then it's asking, would you like to mount anything else? No. So now all we have to do is change directory into this directory, and ls, and then change directory into our username, which is just admin. If you have multiple users, obviously you have to also get those. And then we'll also change directory into the files. And then you'll see all of our files here. Well, now, okay, so I'm just going to use the same command that I used for the other setup, the other scenario or whatever. And basically, I'm just going to be running an rsync tac a tac progress. And then this asterisk just means that any folder or file in your current directory, which is this is my current directory, the mount point for the PVC, and then these are all the files that are going to be transferred over. And then I'm going to create a new folder within my tank pool, and it's going to be called backup. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So we'll go ahead and just rsync all of that. Boom, and that should be good. And by the way, if you want to, you can do mv tac capital R and then an asterisk and then into your backup folder. If you have like a lot of stuff to where if you copied it twice, it would overload your system or whatever, you'd run out of disk space, then you can do an mv, which just stands for move. It's just I'm not doing move right now because our sync has tac A option and it's got progress and stuff like that, and it's just I don't have that many files, so it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of up to your own use case. But okay, let's go ahead and change directory into the backups now. And we're just going to verify that everything is there. And it looks like everything's there. We have our test1 folder, test2 folder, test3 folder, and our test4 .md, which is just a text file. All right, now we have to change directory into our scripts folder again. Whoa. Tank scripts heavyscript, and then run bash heavyscript again, and then option number 3, and then we're going to unmount everything. Want to make sure that we unmount everything so we don't leave anything behind or anything like that, right? Okay, so let's go back to our web GUI. And then we're going to delete the old Nextcloud so then we can install the new Nextcloud that has 0 changes. Alright, so now that we got done deleting that, we just need to reinstall. And then again, remember, since this is your first time launching, well, this is you installing Nextcloud. If you want to ever use Ingress, make sure you set it up right now, because you cannot go back and set that up. You'll have to go through all these steps again. Alright, so our application is up once again. So I'm just going here, admin, sign in for the first time, exit out of this. Okay, and then again, we're going to delete all these folders. And then again, we're going to be going into the shell. So you can either go into shell from system settings if you've been doing that, or you can go ahead and just do this. And then we need to mount our PVC once more. So we need to mount this, and then again, it is option number 7. Alright, so it looks like that's up. So let's see. No, I do not want to mount anything else. Change directory into our admin, or just whatever your username was when you're building the chart. And then go into files. I'm going to ls into files, and since I deleted everything, I just showed you I deleted everything, there's not going to be anything here. And now we just need to do this rsync thing once again. So as you see, I only changed a few things. I changed the folder that we're copying from, and then I changed the folder where we are going to be placing stuff. So this is basically just saying that we're going to take everything that's in our backup folder, literally everything, because it's got that asterisk. Remember, that means literally every single file. And then the period just means that in our current directory. So it's going to place everything into whatever it says right here, which you should be in admin and then files, or whatever your username is and then files, right? Go ahead and press enter. Go ahead and perform an ls, and then bam, there's all of our crap. Fantastic. But we are still not done. Still not done. So we'll go ahead and change directory to our scripts folder once again. And then we'll go to number 3, and then we'll unmount everything, because we want to unmount that so then we can start the container again. We'll come back to our GUI, start it. And now we have to wait for this to become started again. Okay, so our application is launched again, and then if we go ahead and refresh, you'll see that nothing is in here besides a README that I did not put in here. So yeah, that's obviously not ours. So now what we need to do is we need to bash heavyscript, and then we can do a command to container, or if again you just want to use the GUI, you can. You can come here, click on the shell, and then click on the pods, the drop down, and then click on Nextcloud, and make sure it's just this jumbled mess, not Postgres and not Redis and not the cron job, whatever this is. And then the containers, this is one thing that Truecharts really got right, is they added it in the HPB container so you can use like OCC commands and stuff like that. It makes it so much easier. It's awesome. So we can go ahead and choose this. But again, as you can see, I can't see anything, so I'm not going to be using that. But if you're using a Chromium-based browser, you can, okay? Instead, I'm going to use heavyscript, use option 9, and then we'll go to Nextcloud. And then it's going to bring up all your containers and stuff like that. We'll go ahead and use option 3, HPB. And by the way, this is not a part of TrueTool. Not yet, anyway. I guess you can wait until they copy and paste this code too into theirs. But as of right now, it's not a part of their thing. So if you want to use this, otherwise you'll have to do it like manually, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. Or just use the GUI shell. It's super easy. But we'll go ahead and just open up shell, and then you'll see that we're logged into www TAC data in the Nextcloud, which is exactly what we want. And now let me go and just copy and paste this. 1 second. I got this. It's on heavysetup.info. It's my website. So you can just run this command on a cron job if you ever wanted to do that. So it's copy and paste that, and then it's just php space OCC. So this is your OCC command, and then it's going to files : scan tac all. And I will go ahead and leave this in the video description. If there's anything annoying like this to type in, I'll go ahead and leave it in the video description. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. So go ahead and run this, and then you'll see that it will scan all the files that weren't added into the database by Nextcloud, and then it'll add it to the database. And then since we're done with that, we can go ahead and exit out of that, and then you'll see that we exited out of this container shell, and we're back into just root Truenas. Okay. Now let's go to Nextcloud, refresh, and bam, there you go. Yeah, so that's how you back up and you restore Nextcloud using both the dataset and the PVC. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. I will go ahead and leave my credentials and stuff like that in the description.